Not to be confused with Amathus, Palestine. Amathus was one of the most ancient royal cities of Cyprus. On the southern coast in front of Istikonus, about 24 miles west of Larnaca and 6 miles east of Limassol. Its ancient cult of Aphrodite was the most important, after Paphos, in Cyprus, her homeland, though the ruins of Amathus are less well preserved than neighboring Kourion. Prehistory and ancient era. The prehistory of Amathus mixes myth and archaeology. Though there was no Bronze Age city on the site, archaeology has detected human activity that is evident from the earliest Iron Age, 1100 BC. The city's legendary founder was Cinyras, linked with the birth of Adonis, who called the city after his mother Amathus. According to a version of the Ariadne legend noted by Plutarch, Theseus abandoned Ariadne at Amathus, where she died giving birth to her child and was buried in a sacred tomb. According to Plutarch's source, Amathusians called the sacred grove where her shrine was situated the wood of Aphrodite Ariadne. More purely Hellenic myth would have Amathus settled instead by one of the sons of Heracles, thus accounting for the fact that he was worshipped there. It was said in antiquity that the people of Amathus were autochthonous, or Pelasgian. Their non-Greek language is confirmed on the site by Etio-Cypriot inscriptions in the Cypriot syllabary, which alone in the Aegean world survived the Bronze Age collapse and continued to be used down to the 4th century BC. Amathus was built on the coastal cliffs with a natural harbour and flourished at an early date, soon requiring several cemeteries. Greeks from Euboea left their pottery at Amathus from the 10th century BC. During the post-Phoenician era of the 8th century BC, a palace was erected and a port was also constructed, which served the trade with the Greeks and the Levantines. A special burial ground for infants, a Tophet, served the culture of the Phoenicians. For the Hellenes, high on the cliff a temple was built, which became a worship site devoted to Aphrodite. In her particular local presence as Aphrodite Amathusia along with a bearded male Aphrodite called Aphroditus. The excavators discovered the final stage of the Temple of Aphrodite, also known as Aphrodisias, which dates approximately to the 1st century BC. According to the legend, it was where festive Adornia took place, in which athletes competed in hunting wild boars during sport competitions. They also competed in dancing and singing, all to the honor of Adonis. The earliest remains hitherto found on the site are tombs of the early Iron Age period of Greco-Phoenician influences. Amathus is identified with Karti-Hardesty in the Cypriot tribute list of Esarhaddon of Assyria. It certainly maintained strong Phoenician sympathies, for it was its refusal to join the full Hellene League of Wanzilos of Salamis which provoked the revolt of Cyprus from Achaemenid Persia in 500 to 494 BC, when Amathus was besieged unsuccessfully and avenged itself by the capture and execution of Wanzilos. Herodotus reports, because he had besieged him, the Amathusians cut off Wanzilo's head and brought it to Amathus, where they hung it above the gates. As it hung there empty, a swarm of bees entered it and filled it with honeycomb. When they sought advice about this event, an oracle told them to take the head down and bury it, and to make annual sacrifice to Wanzilos as a hero, saying that it would be better for them if they did this. The Amathusians did as they were told and still perform these rites in my day, about 385–380 BC. The full Hellene of Agarus of Salamis was similarly opposed by Amathus, in conjunction with Citium and Soli, and even after Alexander the city resisted annexation, and was bound over to give hostages to Seleucus. Its political importance now ended, but its temple of Adonis and Aphrodite Amathusia remained famous in Roman times. The epithet Amathusia in Roman poetry often means little more than Cypriot, attesting to the fame of the city. The wealth of Amathus was derived partly from its grain, partly from its sheep and copper mines, of which traces can be seen inland. Amathus was a rich and densely populated kingdom with a flourishing agriculture and mines situated very close to the northeast Calavasos. In the Roman era, it became the capital of one of the 4 administrative regions of Cyprus. In late antiquity and the Middle Ages, later, in the 4th century AD, Amathus became the see of a Christian bishop and continued to flourish until the Byzantine period. Of its bishops, Heliodorus was at the Council of Chalcedon in 451 and Alexander at the Second Council of Nicaea in 787. In the late 6th century, Saint Ioannis Elimonus, protector of the Knights of St. John, was born in Amathus, and after 614 sent Theodorus, bishop of Amathus, to Jerusalem to ransom some slaves. Today, Amathus is a see of the Church of Cyprus and is also listed as a titular see by the Catholic Church, which however, in line with the practice adopted after the Second Vatican Council, has made no appointments to the bishopric since the death of the last Latin titular bishop in 1984. Anastasius Sinaitar, the famous 7th-century prolific monk of St. Catherine's Monastery, was born here. It is thought that he left Cyprus after the 649 Arab conquest of the island, setting out for the Holy Land, and eventually becoming a monk on Sinai. Amathus declined and was already almost deserted when Richard Plantagenet won Cyprus by a victory there over Isaac Comnenus in 1191. The tombs were plundered and the stones from the beautiful edifices were brought to Limassol to be used for new constructions. Much later, in 1869, a great number of blocks of stone from Amathus were used for the construction of the Suez Canal. A ruined Byzantine church marks its site. In modern times, a new settlement close to Amathus but further inland, Ius Tikhonus, is named after the bishop Saint Tikhon of Amathus. The site of the ruins is within the borders of this village, though the expansion of the Limassol tourist area has threatened the ruins. It is speculated that some of the hotels are on top of the Amathus necropolis. The city had vanished, except fragments of wall and of a great stone cistern on the Acropolis. A similar vessel was transported to the Musée du Louvre in 1867, a limestone dam, used for storing the must from the grapes, which dates to the 6th century BC. It is 1.85 meters high and weighs 14 tons. It was made from a single stone and has 4 curved handles bearing the head of a bull. In the 1870s, Luigi Palma di Cesnola carried out excavations in the necropolis of Amathus, as elsewhere in Cyprus, enriching the early collections of the Metropolitan Museum of Art. Some objects went to the British Museum. More modern archaeological joint Cypriot French excavations started in 1980 and continue. The Acropolis, the Temple of Aphrodite, the market, the city's walls, the basilica and the port have all been excavated. Further archaeological objects found during the excavations are conserved at the Cyprus Museum in Nicosia, as well as at the Limassol District Archaeological Museum. In the market, marble columns are decorated with spiral ornaments. There are huge paved precincts. At the coastal side of the city there are indications of an early Christian basilica with mosaic floors decorated with semi-precious stones. Farther, near the terraced road leading to the temple, situated on the top of the cliff, several houses built in a row dating to the Hellenistic period have been discovered. In the east and west extremes of the city, the 2 acropolis are situated, where a number of tombs have been found, many of which are intact. 2 small sanctuaries, with terracotta votive offerings of Greco-Phoenician age, lie not far off, but the location of the great shrines of Adonis and Aphrodite have not been identified.